What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Real Estate Confidential. I am your host, Ashley Raby. As always, thank you so much for being here with me. I greatly appreciate your audience. I know that attention is very difficult these days, and well, we do the best we can, don't we? So, the theme for this particular episode is going to be about trust, how we build trust, and some of the things that I've learned along the way in building trust with clients, especially strangers. As I mentioned in episode 1, most of my clients came from open houses. And when you're doing an open house, you are standing in there hoping someone's going to come in unrepresented, and it's your chance to talk to them and convince a complete stranger beyond what's your first name to let me hold agency for you and help you buy probably the most expensive thing you'll ever buy in your life. So, with all of that known, there's a few ways that I do this. And humility, integrity, consistency, these are big trigger words for me when I'm looking for another agent. That's something you should look for too. Humility is important. Consistency is important. Human beings build trust through the known. And when someone walks into a house, they don't know me. I am completely unknown. And usually, more often than not, they don't know the process, because they may buy a home 1 to 5 times in their whole life, and I do this every month. The unknown creates a lack of trust in and of itself. I build trust in a few key ways. Number 1, I try to come as non-condescending as possible. I try to come from a place of, here's what I know, what are your questions, and let me guide you. Let me share with you what I know so you can familiarize yourself. And through familiarity, we will build trust. Another way I build trust is if I have a really good connection with someone and they need something and they've raised their hand and said, yes, I want your help. Whatever I've offered to do, whether that be run analytics, send them some data points, or meet them for coffee and have an ongoing conversation, whatever it be, I do it. So if I say I'm going to connect you with my lender and we're going to have a meeting, I make sure that my lender knows, and that meeting is set and it happens, whether they show up or not. I am reliable. Through reliability, we also build trust. It's like, okay, I now know that if Ashley says this, she will do this. Trust. Bridges of trust happen all along that pathway. So building trust is really important. And with that being said, I want to dive into 2 different open house stories really quickly. One of the biggest successes I had in an open house, it was first weekend on market. It was a flip. Gorgeous house, man. The flip job I shouldn't even call it a flip. It was a full remodel with fundamental work. It wasn't just, paint and pretty. So this guy comes in and he has a complicated problem. He's relocating from the East Coast to the West Coast. He has a job that makes him travel often for work. And his fear factor was, I don't know if I'm going to be physically present here, if I need to be, to do what I need to do on the ground here as I'm trying to buy this house, as I'm trying to move, and as I'm trying to travel for work. So lots of different variables that happened in that moment. We fortunately connected on a lot of different personal levels. He, shared stories about his work and his partner, and we were able, we hugged at the end of this interaction, which was just wildly cool. But he had a lot of grace and he trusted me. And I met him at every turn when I said I promised him I would do something. There was one time where, being physically on the ground, he was concerned that, so the garage on this particular house was set back. So you had to drive through the property to get to the 1-car garage. It was a 1920s home that had been completely remodeled. And he had a normal four-door sedan, but everything was smaller back in the 20s and 30s. Maybe not cars, but in this case, he was concerned that his car wasn't going to fit down the driveway and into the garage. So we were in escrow when this came up. So I went down there and I took a tape measure and I took one of those little rolly doogies that you put on the ground, and I measured every inch of that driveway. I measured every inch of the opening and the garage and the depth and everything. And his car fit. It was great. It worked out. But sometimes you have to do stuff that might seem weird or trivial, and It's not. You have to have enough empathy to understand, okay, this guy's buying a house and he needs to know if his car is going to fit in the garage, because you can't just move the house over or move the property line over so you can drive your car into the garage. Anyway, it was a big deal. And it wound up working out. And we got him into the house under asking. The whole situation was a little stressful because the other agent had a better offer that came in, but we were in contract, and we kept him in contract. It worked out really well. And I was very proud of him and his resourcefulness, his communication, being that he was traveling a lot for work and he was like living in hotels while he was also trying to move coast to coast. Wild. But what a huge success to have that kind of trust. And that to me was the biggest thank you that I could have gotten from that transaction. So now let's talk about a interesting slash gritty slash the audacity story. So I'm in an open house and it's new to market again. I think this one was new to market. And it was in a much nicer, like a really nice area, like the nice part of town. This guy walks in with his wife and they pull up in this really nice car. And when you do this enough, it's kind of like what Forrest Gump says about you can tell a lot about a man by his shoes. You investigate people and it helps you meet them where they are. If you see people and you can tell that they are busting their butts and they're working two jobs and they're really trying and they're, trying to get to that next tier. Or if they have loads of money and they're throwing cash around and whatever, or if you can tell a lot by a person, by how they present themselves and how they show up, especially at an open house. So this guy comes in and he's very direct, very domineering, sure of himself, and sure he wants to buy this house. Kind of curt and short, but polite enough. And I met him there. I can do that. I can do matter of fact and yes and no, and let's not waste time. You want to do this deal through text messages? Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. I don't mind doing that either. If you need me to hold your hand and talk to you about every step of what's going on so that you feel comfortable and educated and aware of what's happening, I can do that too. Anyway, this guy was a boom, boom, boom guy. So we're having a good conversation and I tell him, because it's an advantage point, by the way, take note, folks that are not realtors or realtors, you can take note. If you have an agent who has a lot of good relationships with other agents, chances are you're going to have a much better time in transaction. I knew this agent and I knew that we would have a healthy and fair and ethical transaction if I entered into transaction with this person. So really positive business relationship. And I shared that with him because it's a selling point. It's like, hey, I know this agent. I can get you into this house and it'll be smooth and it'll work out really well. And he liked that. And somehow along the conversation, he imagined in his mind that I had said I would relinquish my buyer's agent commission. Short form of that is I would work for free. And not only would I work for free, I found out later he thought I was going to put my commissions towards the purchase of the home. So that night, we're in it. We're in it to win it, right? And I don't know that he has this expectation that he has in his mind. So we write up the offer and everything is dotted and crossed. I send it for DocuSign and he's reviewing it. And this guy who was boom, 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 and ready to go, he ghosts me and goes absolute crickets, radio silence on me. So I'm like, what's going on? And I'm just sitting there we're back and forth, and then boom, flatline. He and I get on the phone and he says to me, he's like, well, I see in here that you are, you're getting paid, you're getting your commissions. And I said, yes, I am going to be representing you. Legally, I'm going to offer my fiduciary responsibilities to you. You're going to have my protections, my insurance, my brokerage, my relationship, and I'm going to get you into this house under list price, first weekend on market. Like, let's go. Let's do this. I offer service, and it's a really important service, and it's high risk. So yeah, I'm trying to explain to him, like, I'm thinking in my mind, does he not realize that realtors get paid? Don't know. I assumed he would know, being that he seemed so sure of himself and being in the position that he was in financially. I would assume someone at this marker in life would know that people don't work for free. But he wanted me to relinquish my commissions into the deal to help him buy this house because I knew the agent. And I have no idea still to this day how he got there. But I very respectfully explained to him, like, no, I don't work for free. I do get paid, and this is how this is going to shake out. And I'm so sorry that you had this expectation. Do you still want to submit an offer? Radio silence again. Nothing happened. Like, drops off. Okay. So time passes. I don't remember how much time, but it was still the same evening. And the other agent, the listing agent, calls me. And the listing agent says, "Hey, Ash, are you working with so and so?" And I said, "Yeah, I have an offer on my computer I'm trying to send over to you. But he wants me to relinquish my commissions." And the other agent on the other line, she's like, "Yeah, he wants me to dual agency this, but he also wants me to relinquish the buyer's agent commissions back into the deal." And I said, "That's interesting. Okay, well, what do you want to do?" And she's, "Well, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to dual agent and not get paid to represent half of the deal and the amount of exposure that goes into dual agency, yada, yada, yada." And I said, "Okay." And at that moment, I knew. I'm like, well, that he just messed that up. So, um, yeah, he didn't contact me after that, and I couldn't get a hold of him. He wound up not getting the house. There was a better offer that came in anyway. But yeah, what an experience to feel. So in that moment, I had all these feelings, right? You feel slighted, and you feel like someone is trying to pull one over on you, or push you out of getting paid for the service that you're offering. And it says to you, at your ego and at your person, I don't value you. And if you're not going to give me what I want, then I'm going to go around you and try and get it somewhere else. And the thing that was unfortunate for him is that he screwed himself out of buying that house. But maybe he didn't really want the house. Maybe he just was wanting to see what he could do to not pay some. I don't know. I truly, to this day, don't know what was going through his mind. But after finding out who he was and the level at which he operated financially, I was very surprised. This is someone who, my $15,000 commission was lunch money to this person. So it was really extraordinary to me. And I'm not a religious person. I think that, religion is cool, and, there's a lot of different ones and stuff like that. But I've met a couple of people in business who reference Proverbs in the Bible. And there's one thing that I take from it I think is really cool is do not go into business with stingy people, which basically means someone who, at least this is my interpretation, is if you're in business with someone and they're saying, I want to skirt this, or I want to be cheap with this, or I don't want to pay for this, they're really saying, I don't value this. And I, unfortunately, in that moment, didn't have the opportunity to determine whether or not he either didn't value me or he wasn't educated enough to understand where the value was. And I never to this day figured it out. And for a long time, I was, I was angry about it. I was holding on to it. It was like a pit. I was like, I was wronged, and I was, but now I think about it differently. I think going back to transparency and humility and integrity and all that, it's just water off a duck's back. Like, let's wash this. And how do we go forward as this is a lesson? The lesson is I need to figure out a way to show value and avoid people who can't learn it or can't see it. And that's okay. So for the realtors out there, if someone ever tries to undercut you or slight you or make you feel like you don't matter or that you don't have value, um, think about the ways in which you do. The exposure that you create, the protection that you create, the insurance and the legal and the countless hours navigating. Think about the ways in which you do add value to people's lives. And if someone comes to you after you've explained all of that and still says you don't deserve to get paid, well, you might not want to work with that person. So just because it could be dangerous, it could even get dangerous. If they don't want to pay you to do what you do for a living, I mean, I wouldn't walk into a dentist's office and say, "Hey, you'll extract my tooth for free," right? For no other reason other than I want you to, like, I don't want to pay you. Um, so just try to put yourself in that person's position, and then if you can't, then don't. Just walk away from it. So build trust with people. It's important. If you can't, well, you can't win them all, right? And yeah, be good out there. Thank you so much for listening to episode 2. Subscribe, like, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've ever encountered a situation like this, whether you're a realtor or a person, if you're in the service industry of any kind, or you perform in some way at your job and someone wanted to not pay you for something. Maybe it's because they didn't understand the full length of what you do. Maybe it's because they didn't trust you. Sometimes it's because they simply want to try and get something for free. I think that the NAR settlement is going to help create more transparency. It's going to help people establish, what do real estate agents do? How do they get paid? And what that means going forward in this new future. So again, thank you for listening to episode 2 of Real Estate Confidential. Feel free to subscribe. I will see you guys next time.